It's very cold outside, and there's more snow on the way. And to me, cold for me really starts kind of at the end of September or October and goes until May. And my gauge of cold, like whether it's warm or whether it's cold, is whether or not I can ride my bike around without gloves. So for most of the year, I'm wearing gloves riding my bike. And I absolutely love really good gloves. Leather gloves, shearling gloves. I think it comes from my mom. My mom always had black leather gloves in the winter. She didn't leave home without them. She was always counting her pennies, but gloves were kind of essential to her. And good, really good gloves. So there's some ruckus in the street. As I was saying, the gloves that I have acquired over the years usually come from traveling. It's one of the things that I bring back as a souvenir, as a memento, something that I can actually wear and use and then remember my trip. The gloves that I'm currently wearing are these. These are really nice shearling gloves, so kind of suede on the outside and fleece on the inside. And these are new. I just started wearing these. I brought these back from Florence, from a glove store that goes back to like 1910 called Madova, which is right by the Ponte Vecchio. Beautiful, tiny little shop. You walk in and there's 3 counters around you, and behind the counters are just shelves of gloves in all different sizes and colors, silk lined, cashmere lined, and the 2 ladies that work there will just pull everything and you try them on. Wonderful, wonderful store, and they're actually very affordable. I was shocked at the prices. So these are Madova gloves, and they are replacing these, which are also shearling gloves that my friend Eve gave me. She found them at a yard sale. They were new, unworn, and I think I've worn these for 3 years, and I have worn them out. So this practice of wearing gloves has really shown me what happens. They fall apart. And you know, when I'm wearing gloves, especially like these ones, I can't help but think of this practice from centuries ago. There were glove makers, and there were glove making guilds that the glove makers belonged to, and you would have gloves made for you. It was a thing. People wore gloves. They wore leather gloves. Not only like just leisurely, but for things like hunting. There were hunting gloves and shooting gloves and all kinds of different gloves. So I'm very well aware that, you know, you buy a pair of gloves, they're going to fall apart if you use them. And when gloves start to fall apart for me, I do as much repair work as I can to keep them going. So I've learned over the years how to do certain things with the gloves. Usually if it's the stitching just comes undone, and then I have special needles and thread and I sew the gloves back together. But these gloves started to actually like fray. Actually, the leather started to actually wear down. And when that happens, when the leather gets like a hole in it, that is when, to me, I retire the gloves. It's kind of over. Sadly, I move on. I'm not one of these people that just puts something in a box because I can't get rid of it and hopes that one day I'll figure it out. Nope, I don't want to take up room in my mind or my closet with that. These are going to leave, and these have taken over. They're meant to be used. They will wear out. So I accept that and I move on. So those are the gloves I'm currently wearing. But what I wanted to show you today is how I actually do, how I attempt to fix gloves when they're wearing out and when I feel like I can still get more use out of them. So these gloves, these very dark brown leather gloves, these I got in Sweden when I was in Stockholm once, like a few years ago. I was walking around and the facade of a store was really intriguing to me. it was all very sleek, and there were glass counters and then boxes behind the glass counters, and I just walked in and discovered that they sold gloves, and they make beautiful gloves. This company is called Hestra, and the gloves that I tried on were just spectacular. And these were a pair of those gloves. These are made of elk leather, and they are lined with cashmere. Well, these gloves, I considered some of my nicest gloves because of how they were made and the quality of the leather. And I really did not like seeing them start to fall apart. And the main thing that happened with these gloves, which was horrendous, is I got caught in a snowstorm on my bike riding home one night, and the snow was just coming down. The gloves got soaked, like really soaked. I fell, I landed in salt and snow, so the salt got into the gloves, and then I brought them home, and when they dried out, they were just like cardboard. They were hard and they were crisp and they were dull looking. So I re-oiled them, and now they look much better than they did. But this is what I'm going to attempt to do today. So the insides of these gloves from use, the cashmere lining on the insides of the gloves just has fallen apart, like holes, frayed. The lining is completely shot. So what I'm going to attempt to do today, which I have never done before, is I'm going to attempt to reline the gloves. And as I said, I've never done this before, but when I look at the gloves, I feel like it's a pretty straightforward thing. So my first task is to turn the gloves completely inside out. This one, same, it's just completely worn through the lining. And then once I have turned them inside out, I'm going to very carefully take out the stitching that's holding the lining in place. It's only at the bottom that there's stitching affixing the cashmere insert to the leather. And then I'm going to try to pull the cashmere off. And once I get the cashmere off, I found some cashmere gloves. So these are just a pair of cashmere gloves that fit me. They're Italian cashmere gloves. And my idea was to take this glove and to slip it over the leather and then to fold the hem back up and stitch it in place. So that's my job for today. Let's see if it works. Come on, Pinky. What are you doing, Pinky? You're causing me grief. Get out. Pinky and the brain. Okay, four of them done. Just one more. Amor, amor, amor. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom. See, it really helps to sing Puccini when you're doing a job like this. There. Okay, so that was the goal. And then do the other side. l'autre côté. There. So, the gloves I see from turning them inside out are attached at the hem. That's where it's sewn. And then right at the fingertips, like at each fingertip, there's just a little X affixing the top of the lining to the leather. And this is something that is, I think, important to do before removing the lining. Like when I'm doing something like this, I just try to think ahead and try to think, well, once this is taken off, I can't really inspect it. So inspect it now to see how it was put on so that I could try to emulate that with my attempt. So I'm just looking for anywhere else that I see dark brown thread indicating that it's been affixed. Okay, those are the only places. And now, go into my sewing box. That heater is so noisy. And I'm going to very carefully cut the hemming at the bottom of the gloves. Good, I was hoping this would be affixed to the leather so that I don't have to deal with that later. This has been kind of glued down at the bottom. Oh, that's good to know. Maybe I'll do the same, but maybe I won't. Okay, just go all around. I can attempt to remove the lining. Okay, so there is some glue. Holding it in place. Then, there. Just as I thought. Oh, so here we go. Okay, it's affixed in the, oh no, it's not, that's just glue. I thought it might be affixed in the joints too. So it's just at the tips. There's a little X holding it in place. Okay, very good. Look at this. That's a bit of sculpture right there. I can apply for a Canada Council grant. Probably get thousands of dollars if I put this on a gallery floor. Call it sculpture, contemporary art. They didn't give me a grant when I applied to write a book. Okay, so now I am just cutting those little stitches that are holding the fingertips in place. It's good to see how that's done because that's what I'm going to copy. Like a little copycat. Okay. Oh, there is a little, see, there is a stitch. There's a stitch right there on in the pinky joint. Good to know. Interesting. Okay. There. So this is the inside. Okay, so that's good to know. That the right side of the glove will be facing my skin. I mean the right side of the knitted glove. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is stick my hand in here and take this glove and hopefully this fits over this glove. Might need a bit of stretching to make it work, and it does. Lovely. Okay, there. So this was my plan all along. I didn't know if it was going to work. I still don't, but things are going swimmingly. And now I'm going to stitch this here and here. I'm going to fold this hem up and hem it again, affixing this inner glove to the leather glove. Kattikaran. Okay, there. So I'm just going to take this off. I'm using my hand really to create the firm shape I need to sculpt that lining onto the leather. And once it's really on there, I'm going to slowly take it off. It's a little tricky. There. So that's nicely on there. Lovely. Excellent work, Smithers. Just put this glove on. Now, I did observe from taking these off that the edge of this liner is unfinished. It's just cut. And when I look at these cashmere gloves, there's a hem on them because they are meant to be worn alone. They're not just a liner. So the hem creates a double thickness, which I don't think is a good thing for this purpose. So what I'm going to do is actually attempt to release the hem, to cut it, and to just unfold that fold so that it's a single layer, and then I'm going to cut off some of this cashmere liner, and I'm going to put some glue down, because the glue not only adheres this edge to the leather, but it seals it from fraying, I would assume. However, here is another tip. If you are feeling mentally tired, like you're doing something like this and you're like, I'm feeling a little tired of focusing so much, don't keep going, because some things are irreversible. Well, many things in a process like this are irreversible, especially when you're cutting a knitted garment. So the light is fading, and I have been focusing on this enough for today. I'm going to stop now. This is my tip. Quit while you're ahead. You gotta know when to hold it, know when to fold it. Like the song goes, you gotta know. And I know that this will be much better served with a fresh mind. So I'm going to stop here for today. I will set these aside, go practice harp and do some other things to wash the floor. And then I'll come back to this tomorrow when I can see it with fresh eyes and do the complicated part of cutting this and sewing refreshed. Okay? So that's where I'm going to stop right now. I consider this successful so far. Continue tomorrow. Never count your money when you're sitting at the table. They look so nice. Poor little liners. Good. Well, it's the next morning, and it's very good that I left this alone and took a break, because this part is very finicky, cutting the hem of the glove apart. I don't want to make holes in the glove, so finding the right thread to cut is crucial. So I'm releasing this hem. Here it is hemmed, and here the hem is released. so that it's a single layer of the knitted wool, and I will have to trim it so that it fits. So now that I have these hems released, I'm going to cut this so that I'm going to cut about that much off so that I can fold this over the leather part and stitch it back into place. I'm going to cut it here, and I'm actually going to put a little bit of glue on the edge like the originals had. Gluing this very lightly. I'm just going to use white glue. That's what I have. A very little bit to prevent the fraying of the end and to tether it to the glove. This line is very helpful. Yeah, perfect. That's a good length. And just a tiny bit, just the tiniest bit of glue on the edge. There, that's just a tiny, tiny bit here. I'm just going to do it like this. Very tiny, tiny bit. Don't go crazy with the glue. I'm going to fold it over like this and try to match up the stitching lines inside and outside. That has been glued and folded. Great. Set this aside and do the other one. There. Both gloves have been glued. Now I'm going to wash my brush out and then I will stitch this before it's dry. Okay, now I have to go into my sewing box and I have to find a very special type of needle. And when you see it, you're gonna go, oh my gosh, I didn't even know. Where are my, nope. Nope, those are sharps, those are darners. Come on, I know you're in here. There's no point in hiding because I'm going to find you anyways. So why are you hiding? Maybe you're in here. Yes, you are in here. Found them. Okay. These are called glovers. They're called glovers because they're for sewing leather, specifically making gloves. And they are a kind of a very interesting needle. It's round at the bottom, and then it is like a triangular prism at the tip of the needle. Like the top third of the needle is a triangular prism that has a really sharp point, like a sword almost. It's like shaped like a sword. And once I discovered these Glover needles, it made repairing leather things so much easier and actually a joy. So the next thing is So I have my glover's needle, and then the thread that I'm going to use is actually pure silk from Italy, and I don't know what this brand is. I've been using it for years. Pure silk embroidery floss, and I only know it by this iconic yellow spool. That's how I know this brand. I don't know. I've been seeing it in specialty sewing shops for years, and every now and then when I spot it, if I need a certain color, I pick it up. So I found from this brand that I love the brown that matches these gloves. It was a little tricky, but I did it. I wanted to find the right color. I cut a length of this. I wax it. I just pull it through beeswax, which consolidates it and makes it stronger. This will prevent it from fraying while I'm working with it. Okay. I'm going to thread my needle. And then I'm going to use the same holes that were in the hem of the glove as my guide for stitching. And I actually didn't remove the previous thread that I cut, just in case. I thought I'm just gonna leave it in there so that I can see exactly where to sew, just in case those holes kind of disappear once I remove the thread. So now I'm gonna remove some of the thread and start Sometimes these projects take me a very long time because, as I said, I feel like it's important to do it when you're in the mood to do it. And if you push yourself and you're just not in the mood to do it, you can make just a bit, well, I'm going to speak for myself, make a big mess of the whole thing. So sometimes these things just sit and languish for a long time, and admittedly, sometimes they never get done. I have to have the best intention to do stuff like this, and then sometimes I just never get to it, and years pass, and I move on. But this is, as you can see, the way I wanted to do this, it's very meticulous work. And I wanted to do it properly, so I just allowed myself to do it leisurely. There. Okay. Now, put my hand in, adjust this. Feels kind of weird. Like there's a clump at the end of each finger. So I just want to get that inner glove, the knitted glove, properly in place before I stitch it. It's a good thing I turned it inside out. Okay, looks nice. Feels very warm, cozy. Okay, now, keeping this in here, leave my hand inside, I'm going to now stitch. I can do this by concealing the thread. So I can see where the thread is. If I did this the other way, I wouldn't really be able to see if my stitches were visible from the outside, from the right side. But now, Very nice. Very good work. Good work, good work. Good Karen. Okay. Looking good though. Looking very good. Look. Okay, the light is fading. I am just putting the last couple of stitches into the second glove. This one went very smoothly because I had done the first one and it helped the sequence of events. Okay. Well, they feel great. Nice new cashmere lining. There we go. I wish I would have taken a picture of what these looked like after they had dried, after the snowstorm, because they really looked like they were just completely ruined and they needed to be tossed. But oiling them back up with some leather conditioner and then removing these spent cashmere linings and putting in new ones, giving these gloves at least another season. I can see wear on the fingertips, so when those fingertips start to get holes in them, the gloves are done. But for now, it's pretty good job. I have different pairs of gloves in different colors, and I coordinate the gloves with what I'm wearing. So it was sad to not have my dark chocolate brown gloves for certain things. I made do with some other colors, but they're back in working order. Yay, glove repair. Something to cross off the to-do list.